Hey, everybody. We are here today with Wesley, and we are going to be talking about, a lot of different things, but it's going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to talk about the US's chart, the US's natal chart, which anybody that has been watching this channel for a while does know that I have an interest in, in the US from an astrological lens. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Pluto in Aquarius and how this might impact the US, but only for we're only going to go for to 2028, 2029, right? That's kind of what you were. Yeah. Because anything longer than that feels like it's just a lot of fucking ephemeris to look at. Or ephemerides, I think is actually the correct way to say that. So we're gonna be looking about that period of time. And we're also going to be looking at what's going on in Aries in the US's natal chart. This actually came about as a focus because of something because of a meditation, right? That you had.
Yeah. I was doing like a quick meditation, trying to figure some things out. And I was meditating, and the intention was, the question that you asked me was like, oh, what in particular would you like to speak about in regards to this call that we're having? So that was my intention, like, what should we talk about? And then I noticed, I had like some kind of vision in my third eye, or whatever people call it. But I saw essentially these kind of like, I guess, like this twirling, this like motion upwards, and then both of these like energies, or these like symbols, or these energies came out towards, like, so they were going like that, and then they came out this way, and I saw the glyph of Aries. So I thought, oh yeah, let's talk about Aries. And Ellie, can you look at what's happening with Aries in particular? And then that gave us a lot of clarity in regards to some of the things we're going to be talking about. So, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. Because this, and it is interesting that would come up for you specifically, Aries, right? Like that, the glyph. I know that you were actually when you drew me that thing, right, of them, which was it was good. I knew exactly what you were doing when you drew that. But you actually saw it as they were like serpents, right?
Yeah, they were serpents because I've been tapping into. I was just telling you, like, I guess before the call, how, in a sense, this is one of my many ways of coming out in terms of my loving and honoring relationship with the dragons and the serpents of this earth, and those primordial energies that are a part of everything that we do. So sometimes I joke with people and tell them I'm in bed with dragons, but
what do they say?
I think you're the first person I told that to.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think you understand, like, in your own lens. And so but it's interesting that I'm having this conversation with you in regards to like dragon and serpentine energy, because I guess the beginning of my journey with like dragons really started happening like around November 2021. Right around like the solar or lunar eclipse of 2021 November.
Yeah, you're talking about the one November 19th, the one that kicked off this eclipse cycle in Scorpio Taurus, right?
Yeah. And so, so did that also kick something off when we just had that full moon?
I laugh because it's a wind right now. It's a winding down of that, of whatever was kind of, well, I guess I shouldn't put it like, it depends on your chart, right? But
yeah.
things that perhaps started in November, or around November 19th of 2021.
Yeah.
There is kind of this, I think about it like almost as like, well, I know you've never had a baby, but like it's almost like labor pains, like the last one, like the last pushes
Oh, okay.
before
Yeah.
before you
Right,
give
right.
birth, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the end of that is in October. So it's we're in the final pushes, if you will, of this
Oh,
particular cycle. Now that could be a winding down for some people. That could be a purging of things that started in November of 2021 for some people. It could be a transformation of those things into something new. Transformation is definitely a big deal here. So yeah, it is. Yeah.
because I think like this past full moon lunar eclipse on the 5th, like which was 2 days ago on Cinco de Mayo, which is like considered the Day of the Dead as well. And so like a portal for a closer connection to those who have passed on, and not just those who passed on, but those who are still residing and experiencing their own type of lifestyle within like higher dimensions. And so, like I was doing the meditation for on behalf of this like podcast, like conversation episode, um, the day before on the Thursday. And I know that like I was this the full moon with the moon was in Scorpio at the time. And that's when I received the vision about the serpentine energy, like winding and coiling upwards into like the shape of Aries, almost like a heart. Um, yeah. And I guess it's like the reason why I shared about the Scorpio full moon, well,
Huh?
the lunar eclipse in 2021 is because that's around the time, like right around that time, within like the 1 or 2 week window, is when I started receiving and understanding who I am as a dragon. And then this like 2 days ago, whatever that energy was for me was, it took me 18 months to like start understanding it and beginning to like intensely integrate it into my life. And now at this point, I'm ready to like finally start talking about it with whoever I meet, like how I got there. And so, I mean, it's all like correlated, I think, especially with what we're going to be talking about with Pluto and Aquarius too.
Absolutely. And even that in and of itself, being ready to talk about it. There's almost a purging that happens,
Mm.
right? Like you're getting it out.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
you know what I mean? Like, and that has been such a big fucking theme for so many people, myself included, with this particular eclipse series. It's like, damn.
Mm. How has
But
it impacted you, the
oh
eclipse?
fuck.
Yeah.
It's
Well, you don't have to go into depth, but
fuck. It's been like, okay, like it, it's like well, this particular, this one on the 5th, on the 5th of May,
Mhm.
um the moon, the moon, yeah, the transiting moon was conjunct my Mercury, opposing the sun in Taurus, right? My Mercury is in Scorpio. Um and Mercury is the planetary ruler of my 7th house.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
relationships,
yeah.
close relationships that are not going anywhere,
Hmm.
that maybe started around November 19th of 2021,
Hmm.
even ones that were going on before then. Uh, there has been a need to these relationships either need to transform into something else or they need to be fucking purged.
Mm.
And and my Mercury is also in the 11th house, so it also ties in like long-term goals and shit like that. And I don't know, it's been kind of been a wild ride.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, without going into too many.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so how do you feel like I guess some of the topics that we just talked about may have like any relevance to the next 6 years and like with Pluto and Aquarius?
Well, yeah, well, let me go and I'll pull the chart.
Sure.
let me take, well, no, I don't need to do that. Okay, so ignore the transits for right now. Because they're just ignore them for a second. You know, where do you want to start with you want to start with Pluto and Aquarius? With that particular thing? That particular part of it?
I mean,
Let me see. Let me put it where we are right now.
sure.
What the hell is the date? Is it the 7th?
Yeah, of May.
Like, what day is it? What year is it? Where am I? What's my name? All right. Okay, so this is right now, right? We have Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius. Now, Pluto will, okay, here's the US has had its main Pluto return, like conjuncting natal Pluto at 27 degrees, 33 minutes of Capricorn. But I will say this, when it's from, let me see, I wrote down the damn dates. September 21st through October 31st of 2023. Transit Pluto will be at 27 degrees Capricorn. Again, it just won't hit the exact thing. I do feel like this feels like a, because I've talked about like our, with Pluto's return and stuff in the US, our resources and values changing.
Mhm.
And when I say resources, I mean like, actual physical resources. I feel like we kind of need to buckle up again, at least during that particular window of time.
September to October this year.
Yeah, September 21st through October 31st of 2023. Or sorry, September 21st through October 31st. I think it's the 21st, 31st, Halloween of 2023. With this, I really have to, because the second house also deals with money, and we have the digital currency thing.
Right. Yeah. In regards to central bank digital currencies, CBDCs.
Yes. And I'll be honest, I will be honest, I do not know that much about any of that shit.
Yeah, yeah. I know a bit about it. Yeah.
And normally when I think about this kind of stuff, I would think about the 11th house, because the 11th house to me is because it's futuristic, right?
Right.
I think about that more in terms of like digital currency or things like Bitcoin or whatever. But with this being on the radar, right, being a thing that's supposed to be implemented in July? Is that right?
Yes. So in July, I think from my understanding, the US is releasing something called Fed Now, which will, I think, help with like borderless transactions. Like you don't have to pay an obscene fee for like wire transfers. But also like I read this from the website maybe like 2 months ago, where you can like buy credits on a discount. And so it is the beginning of like, I guess, like the transition into a new monetary system is what I do think it is. It's like the beginnings of that.
Yeah. That's kind of the gist of what, like the new monetary system. I'll be honest, I'm kind of stupid when it comes to this kind of stuff. But that is kind of the gist that I've gotten from it too, from the little bit that I do know and understand about it.
Right.
And I do wonder if, since the second house is like actual resources, actual money, looking at this from the lens of the US's chart, it would be like the US's resources, the US's money. I'm wondering if I'm wondering if something is going to, not that it's not going to work, but I'm wondering if something, like, because Pluto will move back into Capricorn this summer.
Right.
I'm wondering if something doesn't go right with it the first time. I don't know what that is, but I do wonder if something kind of gets fucky with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if the fuckiness here, and now this part also comes from, and I haven't dived in enough to this part yet, but the US's solar return for 2023. I did look at this. Chiron in that chart will be in the US's 8th house, which is other people's resources and money. And it kind of does make me wonder if it somehow, I don't know, ends up hurting the US's personal resources in some way. I'm not really sure how to explain that any better than that, but there is a feeling of that going on here too.
Yes, eighth house is which sign is it? It's
Oh, I meant in the
Cancer
solar
Leo.
in the US's solar
Oh, this
return chart
okay,
for
okay, okay.
for 2023. I don't have this pulled for this particular conversation, but it did stand out to me that Chiron in the solar return chart happened to be in the
The eighth
8th
house.
house.
Yeah, yeah. Other people's possession. Ellie, I mean, I know that we talked about like how we don't want to make this like such a negative type of like sounding reading, but like so I grew up in Christianity. I don't know. I don't. I remember you said you had like some association and like some upbringing within it.
Yeah, and my yeah, and definitely with my ex-husband's family, they were.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
from what I remember, like reading throughout like the Old Testament, which is like the Hebrew Bible, they're like it's like split up into three or four sections. I guess it's like the five first books, like the Pentateuch. The I guess like how the Hebrew people had their beginnings, and how they
Okay.
got here thus far. And then they have like songs and psalms, and so they have like these wisdom books and also like these songs like hymnals, and then the last majority like section of that Hebrew Bible is called the major and minor prophets. Major and
Okay.
minor simply because of the length of like what was written and inscribed. Um, but what I know about like all of these prophets is that they spoke truth, judgments happened, and they were like um justified after the fact. And like I met you because I met you by looking up like a specific placement with Pallas Athena, that asteroid in
Mhm.
2022. Like in January, I
Mhm.
noticed that there was like Pallas Athena was coming back to Aquarius, which is like where she's exalted, I think, or she has a good time there.
Mhm.
And it was happening right on my birthday on February 14th.
Mhm.
And I started looking deeper into it. Like Pallas Athena basically like came forth or was like manifested from Zeus's mind, which is
Yeah.
also Aries, right? And so it's
The
coming
head. Yeah,
back.
the head. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and as a result, like Pallas Athena, like in mythology, she's not so much like a super sexual type archetype as like others are, like maybe Lilith or Eros. But she's more of like a strategist, and
Yes.
um, which is like associated with Aries in the head, like the cerebral parts of us. And all that to say, I think I would like to speak more truthfully, and when I speak more truthfully, I'm more comfortable.
Okay.
Um, and what this conversation between you and I is like bringing up is that I think we need to be like prophets and like a prophet and prophetess in the sense that we need to let people know what's coming. Um, and from like we understand it, like my understanding comes a lot from you and as you share and as we intuit and but
Not
yeah,
holding
like
back.
yeah, I like I know we both have wisdom in our own right, and we will share and not share certain things. But let's not, whatever truth is within us, let's let it come out.
Okay.
And
Even if
so
it's not happy. Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of happy astrologers out there who are into like psychological astrology, right? And so let's talk a little bit more predictive,
Okay.
and in the way that the dragons and serpents would want it to happen, I suppose. But yeah, what do you think of that?
Okay. I don't, this, whatever the fuck this digital currency thing is, I don't think it goes right the first time.
Right.
Exactly how, I'm not sure, because I don't know enough about it.
Sure.
But I do have a feeling that this Pluto coming back into Capricorn and being very close to natal Pluto, I think it does tie to that. I think it probably does.
It really is right there with natal Pluto.
Yeah. And then like, let me see, like, okay, like this is for right now. It's at, and see, it's kind of interesting. Like right now, Pluto is in Aquarius, right? It moved into Aquarius, and Aquarius is so future oriented. It has this affinity for the 11th house. And in the 11th house, I mentioned,
Right.
that is where I would see this sort of like digital currency kind of thing normally. So that's another reason why I think this probably ties in here, because Pluto is in Aquarius right now. We're hearing all of this talk about this kind of stuff. And then, it'll move back into Capricorn. I believe I could be wrong about this date. I think it's June 12th, I think. And then it'll cross back into Aquarius. I believe it's early next year. But I think definitely during the period where transit Pluto is at 27 degrees Capricorn, even though it won't be exactly conjunct at 33 minutes, but when it transits back to 27 degrees, it just kind of hovers at 29:59 or whatever, from September 21st through October 31st. I think that's when the real wonkiness with that will probably come about. But the last 6 months of the year, I think that there are going to be things that are going to need to be worked out about this. I don't think they're going to get it right on the first shot. And really, I think it's probably going to end up hurting us, hurting this. It's going to end up hurting this country somehow.
People's resources.
Yes, it's going to end up. Yeah. It's going to end up hurting how, because this is in Capricorn, this will be going on in Capricorn, how solid we think we are, perhaps. How solid we think our resources are.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the more I studied Capricorn, and I studied Capricorn because it's my rising sign, I like, there are some descriptions of Capricorn, like in Western astrology, it's like half goat on top, half kind of like watery mermaid fish thing on bottom.
The sea goat.
And yeah, the sea goat. Yeah. And so, but in like Eastern Vedic, it's Makara, the dragon, and it's like a combination of different features of like animals, like the ears of a rabbit, and then like the feet of a lion, the scales, also of like a fish, the body of like a manatee or like a dugong, the snout of a crocodile, and then the tail feathers of a peacock. And so, it's all on Wikipedia, and you can find it in other sources. But like I understood Capricorn also to be like this. It's like the in between as well, between like the water and like earth. And so I've seen like some interpretations of Capricorn as like the marshlands.
The marshlands.
Yeah. Like something that isn't like, so I think there's structure, like Capricorn, from what I understand, is that it's understood as like structure. But I think Taurus may actually be more of like a solid footing of the land, but then Capricorn may be giving structure and like a foundational, I guess, understanding of that structure. And so there's like water, then like earth, and then how those things relate to one another, how those elements relate to one another.
And like the
Um,
building of them, like the
yeah,
building of these things. Yeah. I see
right,
what you're saying.
right. And so it's interesting that we're in Aquarius, like Pluto, which is the planet of like death and rebirth, power.
Yes.
Um, we came into this like Aquarius humanitarian type of ideology, which is, like from what I'm reading is like Saturn is also traditionally Saturn ruled.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and so it's still in the sense like a restrictive type of energy. Um, it's kind of like a hair straightener.
Like hair straightener.
um, but it yeah, kind of, I suppose, yeah. Saturn energy right there. Um, and maybe like the Aquarius, the symbols could be the hair itself. Anyways,
Getting
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's honestly, Ellie, like I try not to get into despair. When like Pluto to be going back into Capricorn, which is about the structuring, and then it's like, not so fast. Let's go back. Let's like kind of like death and rebirth, a couple more
just
things.
destroying that building,
Yeah.
destroying that.
And from a conspiracy side,
Okay.
um,
Talk conspiracy to me.
in order to like have people buy into a system, like really integrate and like transition,
Mm-hmm.
an old system needs to appear defunct, or the old system needs to appear like it doesn't have a proper foundation anymore. Um,
Okay.
and you know, and I guess like I'm speaking in regards to central bank digital currencies now, where like we literally go to a cashless economy, and I do wonder what it's going to look like in July when FedNow first launches.
I do
Um,
too. Even though I know very little about it, I am curious about what this does look like.
yeah, but um, do you, from like your analysis of the chart, do you have any like positive news about, yeah, if
Well, I'll say this for people that because I know some people are there is a division here, right? Like some people are really on board with it, some people are really not on board with it. I think the people that really are not on board with it are going to get their way at least for a while.
mm,
So that might, I don't know that it'll, and when I say for a while, I mean because eventually, like even in 2024, what'll happen is Pluto will be in Aquarius again. It'll retrograde back into Capricorn, into like I think like 29 degrees Capricorn or some shit. It won't
mhm,
get to 27 again, but it'll get to 29. And then it'll move back into Aquarius for good in 2025.
that's
So
nice.
these 2 years, 2023, 2024, are what I consider to be transitional years because we'll
Right.
have periods where Pluto will be in Aquarius, Pluto will be in Capricorn.
Hmm.
So I guess my thought is anything that's built right now in the US's second house, dealing with like, our resources, our money, our values, they could be built in a different way, right? In Aquarius, and then it pulls back into Capricorn and it's kind of destroyed or whatever, or metamorphosizes, moves back into Aquarius, so I'm not sure that anything with I think it specifically in regards to this, I think it's going to take a minute before this actually takes off, I guess, in the correct way.
Yeah.
I don't really
And
even know what the correct way is.
yeah, yeah, in the intended way, by whoever's implementing these systems.
Yes.
Uh, you know, and I wanna, okay, so I guess I want to come back to the vision I had, like the Aries, the
Okay.
serpents and Aries. We were discussing. Okay, I think we hit like the 28-minute, by the way. But
Should we, do you want to stop this one? And we can,
yeah.
yeah, because I know you had mentioned, and I was watching it, but I didn't want to cut, didn't want to
Oh,
cut you off.
yeah, it's good time.
Yeah. Okay. Then everyone, what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop here. We're gonna start up another one. Do you want to share where you can be found though, before I do that?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at OOGAHWAEZ on Twitter and Instagram. You can come contact me on Instagram mostly though. But yeah, you can find me there.
And everybody go check him out because he's up to some really cool shit. So definitely check him out. And I will see everyone else later. Thank you so much for wanting to do this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.